Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so I've got feedback from the last video on gratitude. And so this is for you. What I'm hearing from people is I know I should be grateful. I know I have a good life, I have a good I have a nice job, but I can't feel it. And then there's other people who are just flat out saying the past sucks. I can't find anything to be grateful for. I've got anger, I've got resentment, I'm furious. So how do I just stop feeling like that and all of a sudden embrace gratitude? I know. I know. This is why a lot of people cannot figure out how to make manifesting work to their advantage. So you're not alone. If you're struggling with that last video of finding a way to be grateful, and you're going to struggle with the future videos too, because part of manifesting requires us to embrace that which has not happened yet. So we have to become very good at controlling how we feel. We are the ones that need to become the architects of these energies that we have. Okay. So, most of the time, when somebody says they can't feel something, either they can't feel joy or they can't feel gratitude or whatever the case may be, oftentimes they describe that as feeling kind of numb, like maybe they feel a little bit desensitized. And here's the reason why. Most of the time, that is a trauma response from the brain. And the brain doesn't really know how to differentiate between big trauma and little trauma. So the shutdown mechanism in the brain could come from parents getting a divorce when you were young, being bullied in school, or it could come from bigger traumas. The brain doesn't really differentiate between baby trauma and big trauma. It just kind of says, oh, this is a bad feeling. I don't want to feel it. Let me shut it down. But it only partially works. So when the brain shuts down to protect you from a feeling, first of all, it overgeneralizes. Okay. So the brain doesn't have the ability to say, oh, I don't want to feel anger, so let me shut off anger and embrace love. It will overgeneralize to all emotion. All emotion is bad. That's the reason why years and years and years and years after whatever happened, we're sitting here, we're today, and we are numb to gratitude. It's because the brain has overgeneralized emotions as dangerous, bad, negative, and so it's desensitized us. But here's the big but. It has consciously numbed you. We are consciously desensitized. It's impossible to shut them off. So they're festering in the background, waiting to be healed, waiting to be released, waiting to be reprogrammed. Okay? This is the reason why somebody will have a hard time embracing gratitude or embracing joy, and at the same time, they feel depressed. They feel overall generalized anxiety, and they don't know why. Or they'll fear anger, they'll have anger, and they'll have these fears for no specific reason. Or maybe their trigger that sets them off is something ridiculous, like, somebody put the plates on the wrong side of the sink or something like that. And they'll say, I blow up and I don't know why. It's not logical. Yeah, it's not logical because we're not dealing with the logic side of our brain. We're dealing with the emotional side of our brain. Okay, we've got two sections of our brain. We used to say right, left brain. We've kind of updated that, but I'm still going to use that analogy because it helps us understand a little bit better what our brain is doing. We've got the right brain, we've got the left brain. The left brain is the part that's responsible for logic, data, fact, reasoning, information, our physical, tangible world. It's more our conscious side of the brain. Okay. Then we have the right side of the brain. I know I did my hands backwards, but ignore that. We have the right side of the brain. The right side of the brain is the part that's responsible for our creativity, our emotions, our spirituality, our imagination. This is our unconscious mind. And that's the part with all the power. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how logical you are. The most logical, analytical person in the universe will say, I don't know why I feel this way, or I want to go to the gym and I just can't seem to do it. It's because there is a conflict between the programming in the right side and the left side of the brain. We cannot logic our way out of feelings. I don't care how much you wish you could. We can sit here and go, and it's not going to alter those feelings until we feel those feelings and we purposely choose to release them and we choose to let them go. You can do this on your own. You can do this on your own. At the same time, depending on the type of trauma, it might be difficult for you to do this reprogramming on your own. That is why people call me, that all of my clients, we are reprogramming the past because they haven't been able to figure out how to do it on their own. So that's part of the reason why my email is on there. If you need somebody to walk you through these steps, if you need a personal coach to go through your personal issues, that's what I'm here for. So going back to these emotions, buried emotions never die. They just fester and they stink. Okay. So my refrigerator was really smelly and I couldn't figure out why. And it was like a couple of months and I finally found this gross, disgusting piece of chicken all the way had fallen down in the back. I don't know how long it'd been there, probably months, but the whole refrigerator stunk because of this one little piece of rotted meat that was in the back. No matter how much baking soda and air fresheners and how many times I cleaned it, it wasn't until I removed that piece that my refrigerator smelled good again. Our brains are the same way. If you have a bunch of memories in your mind, unconscious mind, and you don't have to be thinking about it all the time either. A lot of times people say, well, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the past, so why do I feel that way? It's because it's still stinking up your unconscious mind. It's still stinking up your refrigerator with that one rotted piece of grossness. Okay. So let's say you have multiple issues, multiple traumas, multiple events, multiple memories that you attached anger to. And you've got them all 40, 50 of them sitting in the back of your mind, stinking up your mind with anger, stinking up your mind with sadness or depression or whatever the emotion is. And then we sit here logically and we're like, I don't know why my head stinks. I don't know why my refrigerator stinks. Well, it's because we have wired the event with an emotion. Okay? We have wired an event with the emotion. Maybe even logically we could say, well, I know this event makes me feel sad, or when I think about this, I feel angry. Okay, I know. Now is the time to embrace change. Remember, your words are very important, even the words you're telling yourself. So when we tell ourselves things like, I can't feel grateful, I can't feel joy, first of all, stop saying that. Your mind is listening. Those words are programming you. You are manifesting, I can't. Okay? So write this down. Your first step is when you catch yourself saying things like, I can't, I don't know how, etc. We're going to start changing those to, I don't know how I'm learning. I haven't been able to feel gratitude yet. Notice how that feels a little bit better. Maybe notice how that feels a little bit more proactive. Saying things like, well, this is just who I am. These are behaviors. These are strategies that have been left up to chance. Yes, you can learn how to do this. Yes, you can process these feelings. We're going to start working through these steps. So understand that the brain will take a memory and it will attach an interpretation. It will attach a frequency and emotion to that event. Then when you think of the event, that triggers the emotion. Think of the event, triggers the emotion. Oh, but what about if you don't think about the event? They're still linked in your unconscious mind, radiating anger, frustration, or whatever. Okay? So we now need to change this link. Remember, we have choice of how we choose to view an event. We can laugh or we can cry. We cannot always change the event, but we can change how we choose to store it in our mind. Sometimes, in order to be able to embrace gratitude and embrace joy and embrace optimism, embrace abundance, we have to clear out some of the negative frequencies first. They say there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there is more than one way to handle these emotions and harness the law of attraction and harness manifesting too. Some people are good at being able to just say, okay, I'm depressed. Nope. I'm going to step into that feeling of gratitude. I'm going to feel grateful. That is one technique. There are other techniques because sometimes we need a multi-purpose tool in order to release some of those negative energies. We can't always paint over the negative energy because it can be there haunting us in the background. Embracing positivity when you've got baggage, when you've got stinky, rotting chicken in the back of your unconscious mind, air freshener doesn't always work. Sometimes we have to heal those emotions. So why would a person not heal those emotions? Well, maybe they underestimate the bandwidth that they're taking up in your brain. Maybe you've underestimated the odors that they're emitting in the back of your brain. Maybe we've toughened ourselves up and we say, I don't think about that, or I choose not to feel anything about that. Okay. In which case your life should be ridiculously abundant and you should have everything that you want. You should be a multimillionaire with houses everywhere, perfect life, perfect family, and perfect health. If you don't have that, then you have programming, you have memories in your brain that you need to deal with. That's just how the brain's working. You are emitting energies, whether you realize it or not, and possibly it could be some of these negative memories. So what is one technique that we use to change that link? We change this event that's attached to this emotion. Well, it's not always easy to be grateful for tragedy. Sometimes, so maybe you've got anger over some sort of trauma. So switching from anger to gratitude is probably a big leap. Let's try neutral first. Okay. So we allow ourselves to be in a state of neutral first. So we take a deep breath. We let ourselves be neutral. We let ourselves feel that neutral feeling. And then we access that memory of the event, the trauma, and we keep the neutral feeling. We keep the neutral feeling. We keep the neutral feeling. And that allows us to help train the brain that we can feel neutral while we think about this memory. Hold it, hold that neutral, and think about the memory and hold that neutral feeling. Okay, then shake it off. Okay, think of pink elephants, take a sip of water, break it off, and then do it again. Access that neutral feeling, and then think about the memory. And if you do that 3 or 4 or 5 times, you are now teaching your brain a new synopsis. You are creating a new neuro pathway there. You are teaching your brain that X memory does not have to elicit rage. X memory can be neutral. And that is going to be less stinky in your brain. that is better than anger. So repeating that with some of these memories is a technique that you can use on your own. So maybe it's not neutral. Maybe you want to, they say hindsight is 20/20, right? So that is true. That is true. And that can also be programmed in at the unconscious level. So before we totally access the memory that we want to help recode, logically sit down and say, okay, what are some of the things that I, in hindsight, can look back and recognize about this event? So let's say it's bullying in school. Okay, maybe you've attached some sort of low self-esteem or nobody likes me or something like that to an event we'll call it bullying. Okay. So in hindsight, what might you be able to recognize about being bullied in school? Okay, well, how about this? Maybe the bully was also being bullied at home. Maybe the bully was acting out. Maybe kids act like bullies as they go through puberty. You come up with some logical things to say, okay, you know what? The truth is, had I known this then, I probably would have felt a little bit differently about this event, right? Right? So then we can take that knowledge, we can take that head knowledge. How does that head knowledge feel? Maybe it feels confident. Maybe it feels a little bit like wisdom. Maybe it feels mature. Okay. So then we would access those feelings. Okay. Knowing this about that situation makes me feel confident, makes me feel mature. Then we can access that memory and go, okay, yep, I see that bully. I see it. I see it. I see me. I was a little kid. Yep, I didn't know any better. I thought that meant something about me. I didn't understand. And we can logically feel the emotions of knowledge, feel the emotions of wisdom, feel the emotions of maturity. And that will also start recoding some of those memories. So I started out this video talking about having complications feeling gratitude, having complications feeling joy. And so in summary, because I don't want to make this video too long, in summary, the answer is you're going to need to start reprogramming some of the stinky memories. We need to purge those negative emotions so that we can replace it with those positive emotions. All right, this is the tip of the iceberg. We've got a lot to cover on this. This is a topic I could talk about for hours and hours and hours. So I'm going to do it one video at a time. Okay. Please share this video. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe because that's the reason why I do these videos. Okay. Keep the comments coming. Keep the scenarios coming. That'll give me some more content that I can kind of help work you through what you're working through. And if you need the personal help, if you're thinking that it would be easier to have somebody coach you through it, that is my job. So reach out and we could maybe explore that. I know for sure that while I believe with my whole heart that everyone can do this on their own, it is definitely accelerated when you have somebody that's teaching you and holding your hand and walking you through it. So just leaving that out there. I will talk to you guys soon. Keep the comments coming. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.